Chicken pot pie, ultimate comfort food, super easy. Don't go for the frozen. It's got all those nasty, nasty preservatives in it you don't need. These farm fresh carrots. Take the ends off. You're not going to be making stock. You're in college. You can throw that out. Me, I'm going to throw it to the dog. So you want to rinse the carrots before you peel them. While you're peeling them, you know, you just don't want dirt on your cutting board. Scrapers, don't peel this. They go like this, way faster. So don't do it over the trash because your hands are a bit slick. Your carrot goes in the trash. You don't want to be dumpster diving for your carrots. You don't want to be aiming into something nice and big and flat. You don't want to be aiming into something nice and big and flat, so that you can scrape, or peel as it were, with wild abandon. Potatoes, like carrots, grow in the dirt, therefore they're dirty. However, we're not going to peel them. Lots of nutrients in the skin, lots of flavor in the skin. And a little bit of dirt's not going to hurt you. We are going to scrub them though. Okay, see, this is not dirt. That's just part of the character. All dirt's off. Cutting. Very important. You want things to be as flat as possible. Potatoes, they're round. They're not as flat as possible. But they do have flat edges. So you want to find the flattest part of the potato, get it there, steady it, make a flat edge. Always make flat edges. Also, use the back of the knife. Don't do this. A couple reasons for that. You have way more control. The knife's doing the work. And because everyone else in your apartment is doing this, this is usually the sharpest part. Carrots, also a little roly-poly, usually have a bit of a flat edge. So if you can find a flat spot, you can just go ahead and cut. I like to do it on the diagonal, it just looks a little bit nicer, in my mind. Try to keep them as uniform as possible. Don't make yourself crazy. The only reason you do it is so that they all cook evenly at the same time. You got big fat pieces and little skinny pieces. Skinny pieces are going to get super mushy. Fat pieces are never going to cook. It's a little thicker here at the bottom, so I'm going to cut it in half again, giving myself a nice flat edge. Onions. Onions are difficult. Onions make you cry. Onions are definitely brown. There's no flat edge here. I'm going to show you the secret to cutting an onion without cutting yourself. First, you got to be super careful on this one. You're just going to cut the edge off. And by the edge, not the root end that is coming out of the ground. Turn it flat, leave the root end on. There's a reason for this. We're leaving the skin on too. You're going to cut down the center. Now you're going to take the paper off. First of all, it's a lot easier right now. And before, you know, it's hard to grab it, and the onion itself is going to be a lot more slick than the paper, so it's easier to grab it. Usually it comes right off. Now, I have super fresh onions because we get them from the local farm. So they're a little bit harder to peel. I mean, as far as getting the skin off. Your older onions, the skin's going to come flying off. But I'm probably not going to cry as much as you are, given how fresh they are. So that's kind of the secret. If you do find yourself crying, like cutting an onion, there's all kinds of little tricks. I find that lighting a candle, which you can't do because you're in a dorm, so that doesn't matter, works, and also literally eating a piece of bread, which you love to do, so I don't know why the bread works, it just does. Let's flotsam out of here. I'm leaving that on. I'm not going to put it in our chicken pot pie, but it helps hold the onion together. So, be careful. You're going to put your hand flat on the onion. Then using the midway of your knife, where it's nice and heavy, you're going to make a horizontal cut. Not all the way to the end, just to the root. Again. Make 4 of them. Then you're going to make some. You can use the tip for this. You can go down vertically. Here, you want to tuck your fingers in, hold on. You're going just mince. You can do it nice and quickly. Again, using the back. You're doing here, you're crying. You're doing here, you got lots of control. It's coming down quickly, very surgically. Not as much of that onion juice and gas getting into you. Okay, so now the chicken. Now notice I didn't clean the cutting board, all these ingredients are in it, but I'm doing the chicken last. Even though it's all getting cooked together, you really just don't want raw chicken having a moment to hang out with vegetables and get in there and put all kinds of bacteria. People get squeamish about the dirt on the potatoes or the carrots. Chump change compared to what's hanging out in these things. So, I think as a college student, your best bet is to get these prepackaged things. Yeah, they're a little bit more, but you're not going to butcher chicken in your dorm kitchen. Definitely the most economical way to buy it, but be realistic. Plus, the thing about these is you can just freeze these breasts and use them when you want to. I didn't defrost this on purpose so that you can see that if you forgot, it's okay. You can still whip up a chicken pot pie. Frozen, but it is a little bit more difficult to cut. It won't take long. They're thin for them to frost enough. You can cut it without hurting yourself. But if you're really concerned about your knife skills, or you do have a couple of extra minutes, if it's tin, perfect. Glass is fine. Any kind of bowl is good. But anything that's metal is going to work a lot better, more quickly for you anyway. And you're just going to put it in some water. This isn't ideal, it's not completely submerged, but let's be real, you might not have the ideal thing. Honestly, 5-10 minutes in this, you're good to go. It won't be completely defrosted, but you're going to cook it. It'll be way easier to cut. It took me to do that. This is probably defrosted enough. See how slippery that is? So not an ideal situation, but honestly, if you're in a rush, just be careful. Here's the thing, pay attention to what you're doing. Don't talk to anyone. Just cut. The minute you look up and you're still cutting is the minute you take the tip of your finger off. If you're lucky, just the tip of your finger. So whenever you're cooking anything savory with onions, honestly anything, you want to get your pan hot first. You don't want to throw everything into a cold pan and then turn the heat up. You want the pan to heat up and then put whatever fat you're going to put in. If it's olive oil, if it's lard, if it's shortening, if it's butter, whatever it may be. Have a dairy issue, don't use butter. We don't. Okay, you got your butter all burned. Not a whole lot in there, just wanted enough to coat the pan so things don't stick. The first thing you're going to put in is onions. You're probably only going to want a half an onion. So you're going to let that cook down. I like to cook over a high heat. We'll let those cook down till they're translucent. Chicken in. Don't forget, it still has to defrost, but I'm really not worried about it undercooking your bacon. Okay, so frozen, that took about, I don't know, 5 minutes. It's not cooked through by any stretch, but it's going to cook a lot longer. So you're going to throw in your potatoes, and you're going to throw in your carrots. Your bird. Normally, you'd put chicken stock in. But you're in college, you're in a dorm, you're not going to make chicken stock. And you really shouldn't buy it. It's full of salt and nasty stuff. And yeah, you can get the organic kind, but it's super expensive. And you're going to forget to buy it. And then you're going to think, oh my god, I can't make chicken pot pie because I don't have chicken stock. How much water? Enough water to cover. So, depends on however many vegetables and stuff you put in. I put in quite a bit. So 2 bowls full. You need 2 bowls full of water. Enough to cover. Okay, rule of thumb with vegetables. You might like celery, peas in your chicken pot pie. By recollection, you don't, so I'm not putting them in. But here's the thing with vegetables. Anything that grows under the ground, you put in cold water and bring up to a boil with the water. Anything that grows above the ground, you put in the boiling water. So if you were going to add peas or celery, things that grow above the ground, you would put them after this comes to a boil and begins to simmer. So now your vegetables are nice and soft. See how the knife goes through super easily? Okay, so it's done simmering. Water is not going to give as much flavor as chicken stock, so we're going to help it out a little bit. We're going to put a little soy sauce in it. I know it sounds weird. It's going to add a little flavor and a little color, and you eat with your eyes. You can measure a tablespoon. That makes you happy. Okay, you want to thicken it up. To do that, you're going to add equal parts butter and flour. So we're heating the pan up, like we do, putting in a tablespoon of butter, and we're going to melt that. A tablespoon of butter and about a tablespoon of flour together. This little whisk-like thing, it's kind of awesome. I wanted to get you one. You didn't want it, that's fine, but I'm telling you, you'd be surprised what you could use it for. You could even make frothy milk for your coffee. I'm just saying. Okay, now this is sort of a roux. Who's been trained classically, they would argue with you. This is not a roux, it needs to be baked. You're not doing that. Okay. You can step, but it'll make everything lumpy. Or you might get lucky and it won't. It doesn't take that long. So if you have any kind of, you probably don't have a ladle, but if you have anything with a deep bowl, so like even a measuring cup, here. Like even if you have something like this, you want to go in, get just the excess liquid. It's okay if like little bits of something get in there, that's fine. You're making this roux-like thing more of a liquid so that you're not just putting this big lump of butter and flour in here, because then it'll still be lumpy. Like I said, you can skip this and just rigorously whisk it in to the whole thing. It doesn't take that much time to do it this way, so you might as well. Like almost a bisque consistency, and that's what you want, like a thick soup. So now, go ahead and put it in, keep whisking. This is just what saves it from being lumpy. Now, if you weren't going to make a pot pie out of it, you just kind of wanted a chicken stew, you could cook it a bit longer, and it will thicken up really nicely for you. Now, the puff pastry. Yeah, it's, you know, it's not that hard to make puff pastry, but let's face it, you're not going to do that in your dorm. So it should have been taken out before you started, so it'd be completely defrosted now. Forgot to tell you that. Again, another thing that's going to speed it up, just, you want to, they're usually wrapped up like this. You want to unwrap it carefully if you can. When it's still frozen, it's kind of hard. And put it on any kind of metal. Again, any kind of metal is going to absorb all the cold, and it's going to thaw a lot more quickly. So yeah, you could put this out and roll it with a rolling pin that you don't own in space that you don't have. Or you can simply stretch it. Why are you stretching it? Mostly just because you don't want it to be super, super thick. Hopefully you won't get all these holes that I'm getting. That's unusual. Okay, now you can cut it in half and just kind of stretch, and then have a bottom layer and then put the other one on top. If you're fussy. I'm not fussy. Just going to evenly distribute it. All you have to do is tuck up the corner. Just put that in the oven. 425 degrees, about 20 minutes, and it should be nice and browned. Remember, everything was cooked before you put it in, so as long as the crust is browned, you're fine. You're going to take it out. Never take anything out of the oven unless you know exactly where it's going. You don't want to be walking around the apartment with a hot thing in your hand. And there you go, chicken pot pie. Give it a couple of minutes to rest, cut in, enjoy. Have a good one. Love you, sweetie.